Welcome everyone to another episode of the Camper Report. Today we've got a special episode. John Chapman of the 49ers Rush podcast in the building. And obviously you can go find him on YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts. But links are in the description. The YouTube, you can go follow him on YouTube. That's in the description. And on Twitter, that's also in the description. So guys, thank you for hopping on. I'm very excited to get this going because we're going to talk draft, and thanks for joining me.
Yeah, man. I think this is like my third or fourth time on your show.
Yeah.
And so it's turned into a nice common occurrence, which I enjoy. And I got to give you man, your hat is straight fire, man.
Thank
I
you.
remember when
Thank you.
those hats were out back in the day. Those were early 90s. And
I know.
they're bringing it back.
Well, without further ado, though, we're talking about the draft. Let's first get to a little bit of news that I basically have all the topics in this one banner, but the topic that caught everyone's eye Monday, I think it was morning, Jalen Hurts gets an extension. It's a 5-year, 200 and I believe 50, was it 255 million?
Yeah, because it's 51 million a year. So yeah, 255.
Yeah. Anyways, a huge makes him the highest paid player ever. First thing, my question to you is this worth it? Was this deal worth it? And what does this mean for Burrow and Herbert?
A couple things that I always want to remind people of whenever you hear contracts. First thing you're going to hear is from the agent or the player that is like a pound in my chest. I got this deal for this guy, and it's the most inflated numbers that's possible. You got to wait for the contract to come out. Now, the full details aren't out currently, but the cap hits are always what you're looking for. So you're looking at, number one, average per year, which you got 51 million, which is the most ever. But then the cap hits. That's key. And so with Hurts deal, what we do know, the only thing that has been leaked out is like the first 3 years of cap hits, and they're all very, very low. So my assumption is this is a very backloaded deal that's allowing Philly to keep their window open before they make Philly won the Super Bowl, disappeared for a few years, rebuilt, got to the Super Bowl. But I think that especially with the way the NFC is currently, it's a two-horse race. It's the Eagles and it's the 49ers and everybody else. And so this will allow the Eagles to be in that conversation for at least 3 more years.
Yeah. Well, and the Chiefs, this reminds me obviously of like Patrick Mahomes, but you're wondering because Patrick Mahomes has restructured his contract quite a few times. You're wondering if Jalen Hurts does that same thing. And it's really just, if the Eagles want to win a Super Bowl, they're probably going to have to rework this contract for sure. And my question is, does Jalen Hurts, is he willing to do that Patrick Mahomes thing? Is he loyal to the team? And that's the biggest question mark. I think as far as it affects Burrow and Herbert, man, these guys, I said by 2025, do you think the salary, the highest paid player will be 60 million? I don't think so, but it's going to be closer next year. It's going to probably be like 55, I would say. So
yeah. The numbers are going to keep going up. The revenue's going up. The new TV deal with YouTube TV doing Sunday Ticket, it's going to keep going up. And the thing that's interesting to me is there's two different types of quarterbacks, and I'm all for people getting paid. But there are quarterbacks that totally are not helping their team with their deals. Kyler Murray, Dak Prescott, Matt Stafford, Deshaun Watson. Like these guys, incredible cap numbers up front. Then you have Patrick Mahomes. Then you have Jalen Hurts. And these guys are fine pushing guarantees out down the road to build their team. Some guys want their money now. I'm not saying like you got to do you. I get that. But, man, you look at Deshaun Watson or Kyler Murray's contract, they are way worse than Patrick Mahomes' deal from a team building standpoint. And so neither one of those guys are close to Mahomes, but it's different.
I like Jalen Hurts. It's just this guy had one good year and you're willing to pay him already. And Patrick Mahomes did it for years. And Patrick Mahomes did it for like 2 years, but he led him to he won the Super Bowl. Yeah, but the year before. So
There's a big difference between Mahomes
I don't
and
know.
Jalen Hurts. I'm just going to be really honest.
Well, and the thing is you're gonna have to hit now on every draft pick, on every because the way of the Chiefs have structured their team, it's like they're not even the best at every position, but they find a way each year, and their coaching is so
Yeah.
good to where they can overcome those weaknesses. And they don't even really have a number one receiver this year necessarily, the Chiefs. So the Eagles are gonna have to make those hard decisions down the line. They're gonna have to start making those hard decisions with these players, and hopefully Jalen Hurts is good enough to overcome those weaknesses. So
Yeah, I'm with you there. I'm with you. Well said.
yeah. Anyways, moving on though, Jalen Carter.
Oh,
This is an interesting topic because we'll get into Will Anderson later, but I saw your mock draft and I think it had Jalen Carter going number 3 overall to the Cardinals, if I'm correct, right?
yeah, that was one of them. I think that's the first opportunity to come off the
Hmm.
board. It makes a lot of sense. I know a lot of people are having him fall, and I totally get that. I understand. I mean, I'm not trying to make light of his situation off the
Yeah.
field, but this is a young, dynamic player at a huge position of need for the Cardinals. They might have the worst defensive line in the entire NFL. So the value's there, the fit's there, all those things are there. And look at their head coach, right? He was the defensive
Right.
coordinator of the Eagles, and what made them so special was all D line. So I could see it. Now I think they would trade back. That mock I didn't do trades. They're primed to trade back, but Jalen Carter's a good fit there. And we'll see what happens. I mean, he's a hell of a player. He's really good.
Do you think so? Obviously, would I think the behavior traits, I think if you look on the football field and you look at his highlights, I mean, this guy has the blend of speed and power, and it's just like it's crazy for a guy who's over 300 pounds. The thing that my biggest question about him is when he faces the bigger offensive linemen, a lot of his highlights that I've seen are him just overpowering people. When you face those double teams, I don't know if he's going to be able to do it because he did have Nolan Smith on the edge. And so he was kind of getting, well, I guess Nolan Smith last year got injured, but my point is, he had a good defensive line to back him up. So he was actually
They're
getting single
stacked.
teams.
They are stacked at Georgia.
So single teams a lot. So my question is, when you get double teamed at the NFL level, it's just like, do you still have that power? So
Yeah, and I think the premium that defensive tackle is a very highly valued position in the NFL. I mean,
yeah.
Javon Hargrave just got 21 million per year. But it's not just any defensive tackle. You have to be a dynamic playmaking defensive tackle, which he has. That's
Mhm.
where the rareness comes. There's lots of defensive tackles that can anchor a double team and all those things. But are you a defensive tackle that can make explosive plays in the backfield on a consistent basis? He
Yeah.
is that guy. He's that guy.
So you think that you would pick his traits over his behavioral issues? I mean, this is really the one where I think this is the one where it's the most intriguing because it's like we don't have inside access to the player interviews. And this is the one where it'd be so key to have that.
You've got to be comfortable with it. And that's on the
Yeah.
coaching staff because I guarantee you this, some teams would be like, yeah, we're not touching them. But they're not even going to have that opportunity because he's going top 10. Like,
Yeah.
we're talking about falling from pick 3 to pick 8. Like that's the
Yeah.
fall he's taken. We saw Laramie Tunsil that came out and he dropped all the way down, I think, to 12. Like, that's the range. And the problem with this class is there's not a lot of blue chippers. Like, there's a
Mhm.
lot of first round players, but there's not a lot of top 5, top 10 players.
Mhm.
Like this draft, it falls dramatically. I've got right at, man, I'm going to be really honest with you. I think that there's about 6 guys that are like, all right, these are playmakers. There's not much after that. There's not a big difference between pick 20 and pick 50 this year, if that makes sense.
Yeah. What do you think of Tyree Wilson? I like his measurables. He has one of the longest arms in the draft. He's really like quick for his size. He's 6'6". I mean, I would pick him over Will Anderson. I like how at Texas Tech he had less talent than at Alabama. He was still winning, And I just think that he, just like Jalen Carter, if you're going those comparisons with Jalen Carter, you can also go those comparisons with Tyree Wilson, because this guy has like more physical abilities than I would say than Jalen Carter.
Yeah, Trent Baalke he'd be the number one player on Trent Baalke's board, right? Like
Yeah.
arms, length, measurables, all that kind of stuff. I get it. For me, he's my number 11 player. I like him. I think he's great. You're drafting what he will become. But Will Anderson for me is just so clean. He's my number one player in this draft, Will Anderson. Like I don't even, they're both elite. But
yeah,
man, I'm taking Will Anderson every day, twice on Sundays. That's just me.
Okay, interesting. Well, let's see here. So let's move on though, because you obviously, this is kind of a good transition. Will Anderson, you were talking about him. Is he worth all the hype that he is getting? Can you justify taking him the first defensive player off of the board? And I mean, obviously, I've seen rumors about the Texans maybe trying to get trading down and getting a defensive player instead. Maybe he goes to the Texans at number 2. What do you think about that? If I was
the Texans GM, that's what I would do.
Really?
And if you go back to when the Texans, back when Kyle Shanahan was there, he was the offensive coordinator, wide receivers coach. They asked him, do you want Reggie Bush or do you want Mario Williams? And Kyle Shanahan at that time told Charlie Casserly, who was the GM at the time, go Mario Williams, shore up the defense. And so now you have that same decision. Now, again, DeMeco Ryans, where'd he go to school? Alabama. He might have his choice between some Alabama, the quarterback, whatever else. But I just think they're too far away. A quarterback now is great, and it's hard to pass on that. But next year, and I don't know if teams really think this way, you could have one of the best quarterbacks to come out of the draft in a decade. And that's why I'm like, man, you got 2 draft picks next year. If you're the Houston Texans, you got 2 this year. Man, I would go Will Anderson now and just wait and try to get Caleb Williams, because that guy, oh my gosh. Yeah.
Just, wow. I agree. Heisman Trophy winner. Could have probably been almost the number 1 overall pick if he would have. Well, no, he wasn't eligible this year.
He couldn't come out, but he would be, and it wouldn't even be close. Like, CJ Stroud's awesome. He's my number 1 quarterback. Bryce Young's amazing. The production, there are no questions with Caleb Williams that he's going to be on that Andrew Luck kind of, that type of high evaluation.
That's crazy. Going back to like what the Texans will do, I think receiver at that number 12 pick would be ideal. You get one of the, I mean, I don't know. I like Quentin Johnston, Jackson Smith-Njigba. I don't think he's going to be in a super top tier talented receiver. He's probably going to be a solid guy that is a reliable guy, but doesn't always get you isn't a DeAndre Hopkins. I don't really compare him with DeAndre Hopkins type of player, but I think with Will Anderson, you could make the argument that he got a lot of single teams. And I bring up against the Tennessee right tackle, Darnell Wright. I mean, he didn't actually get a pressure against Darnell Wright in that game. And you watch, there's a lot of stuff on YouTube, like breaking down those 2 guys' games and how they played against each other. And Darnell Wright did really well against Will Anderson. So that's my only concern. Like, does he have enough pass rush moves to win at the next level? Because he's definitely a lot more of like, his get off is really good, but then past then it's like the power is good, but also he needs a little bit more developing. So do you take him that high?
So yeah, I would have no doubt in taking Will Anderson that high. But you do have to give credit. I mean, what Darnell Wright did at Tennessee, I mean, he's the best right tackle in this draft. If there's one guy that, like, man, if the Niners had a shot at getting this guy, that would be just plug and play happiness for, next 10 years. But yeah, premium position Will Anderson. He's leadership check, experience check, traits check, off the field check. Like, He's done it multiple years. Like, it's just, you can't find a reason why this guy won't work out. It's just so clean.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. Um, moving on though, Levis versus Richardson. Um, you did a mock draft, obviously. You said you did a couple. I haven't actually seen more of them, but I'm gonna actually re-preface this question. Instead of what makes you like Levis over Richardson, who do you like more, Levis or Richardson? I'd say Richardson just because, well, obviously the physical attributes are very similar, but I mean, the running ability for Richardson is a lot more clean there.
Right.
And I don't know. I like what Richardson, just his body type is just so
Oh,
it's
it's
what you want.
incredible. And
So
you got to pick here,
yeah.
like, okay, in the mock I think you're referencing, I gave Will Levis to the Patriots,
Yeah, you did.
and a bunch of Patriots people got really, really upset. Well, guess what happened this morning? Patriots had Will Levis in for an official top 30 visit.
Yeah.
Not saying that I was right or whatever. It makes sense to me. If you're a team that likes Mac Jones, that didn't really work out or hasn't worked out yet, you're going to like Will Levis too, because he's got a lot of those bigger bodied guy, strong arm, and he's done it. Anthony Richardson's incredible, but
Yeah.
you watch the film, 53% completion percentage, like,
Yeah.
that is a concern.
Yeah.
So like, you are drafting for what he will be. So if you are a team that needs quarterback now, then Anthony Richardson's not on. That's not even, no. If you need a guy now, Will Levis would be that guy. If you are going for the long-term upside, you want to sit a guy for a year, Anthony Richardson would be the play for sure. But you better have a quarterback-friendly system, and you better have a pretty damn good coaching staff that has the ownership's backing, because this is, you're not going to open that present for a year or
Yeah.
2 or 3. Kind of like the Trey Lance situation now. Like, you're not getting that present anytime soon. He's 21 years old, so that's good. But I have Levis ranked earlier. But again, it depends on the fit of the team that's scouting these guys. Does that make sense? Like,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
let's say the Vikings were to pick a quarterback. Oh my gosh, the Vikings should 100% get Anthony Richardson, because you got
Yeah.
Kirk Cousins. Then you let Kirk Cousins move on. Perfect. But if you're the Texans or whatever, no, man, that kid would be out of the league in 4 years.
So, do you think that these quarterbacks there will, because like I had some like my first mock draft were 4 quarterbacks in the first 4 picks. Do you think if you're a team and you're picking like let's say maybe, yeah, obviously the Texans, but maybe even the Colts, and you're picking that high and you really want a quarterback, you probably trade down according to your logic.
Well, I don't think teams trade down for quarterbacks too often,
Yeah.
but I'm looking at it like, I don't see a lot of teams trading up in this draft for these quarterbacks. Like, I'm high on Bryce Young. I'm
Yeah.
high on CJ Stroud. There's a pretty big gap to
Yeah.
the next guys.
Hmm.
And so I don't know if there's enough there to make you like want to jump up and go grab them. No draft in the history of the NFL draft has gone quarterback,
Right.
4 in a row.
Right.
It's never happened. Is this that good of a quarterback class? I don't think it is. But the
Okay.
one thing I will say, this is the most quarterback needy the NFL has been in over a decade.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
So
Yeah.
like, that is, if I'm buying into kind of that I'm putting stock there. A lot of teams need quarterbacks right now.
Like I was obviously looking at that mock draft with the Commanders, and that's so like that's an intriguing place because you have Hal, and then you would bring in another younger guy, Richardson. That would be an in place. I never actually thought of that as a landing spot, but that's interesting to say the least. So
Well, like, you have Ron Rivera there, right? Guess who his quarterback was in Carolina? Yeah, Cam Newton. What's the,
yeah,
everybody's comping Anthony Richardson as he's Cam Newton, but more athletic, more raw. I will say that.
yeah,
But yeah, I don't know. It makes sense. I don't think he'll fall that far. I did
yeah,
it, and I think he's going to go a lot earlier. Sometimes I play around with these mocks, and it's like,
yeah.
man, let's just see what it would look like if quarterbacks did fall, things like that. So that's where I had him going at that time.
That's true. So real quick, what do you think of? I know this wasn't in the question thing, but what do you
Oh,
think
bring
of
it.
Hendon Hooker? I honestly, I like what he brings. I think if he wouldn't have gotten injured, you actually like one of my comments that I made on Twitter. If he wouldn't have gotten injured, he would have been a top 15 pick. I mean, his mobility is there. He can scramble out, make sidearm throws, had a really good game against Alabama, was tearing their defense up, and that was a very good defense at that. And so, like, I almost would pick him over Levis, but then you draw the line of like, okay, if we're gonna pick, if Hendon Hooker is going over Levis, do both guys drop to the second round? So, what do you think of Hendon Hooker? Because he's an intriguing prospect.
Yeah, he's got major positives and major negatives. Okay.
Yeah,
So, positive, he could do it all. I mean,
yeah,
one of the prettiest deep balls. Dude makes great decisions. He has all the mobility, the size, unbelievable production. And
yeah,
again, you look at him at Alabama and those Georgia games, dude balled out. But I hate the system he's in. It's that air raid, old
yeah,
Baylor offense. It doesn't translate well. Next negative, he's 25 already. Next negative,
yeah,
coming off an ACL. Like, there's enough negatives to be like, ugh, you know what I mean? If he was
yeah,
fully healthy at 25, that'd be one thing. If he was fully healthy in a pro style system, that'd be another thing. But as far as just the prospect, just looking at what he is, that dude can ball, man.
yeah.
I would have no problem. He would if he was if he was 22 and no ACL, he'd be quarterback 3 of this draft. I'm with you there.
The age, but I mean, Levis is 24 too, right?
Yeah, Levis a little bit older too. He's 23. He'll be 23 at the
23.
start of the season. So,
Okay,
I mean, that's
okay.
2 years difference. And again, to put this into perspective, 49ers got 3 quarterbacks on the roster. Trey Lance is currently 22. Brock Purdy is
Yeah.
currently 23. Sam Darnold's 25. All those guys are younger than the quarterbacks we're talking about in this draft.
Yeah, that could be a concern. I think the top landing spots for Hendon Hooker are the Rams, possibly. Um, maybe the Texans. That's another one where like maybe they don't go guy in the first round, but maybe they like Hendon Hooker enough, take a shot at him. I mean
I
that would
would
be
love that.
a flyer pick there. And then the Raiders, obviously, also in the second round, early second round. So those few teams is let's see here. Says what hello Benny and welcome John Chapman. And then CG Ruthless Sports says, hey guys. And then he also says John
What's up,
Chapman,
CG?
legend, and then the myth. Hold on
I love it.
a
I
second.
love it.
There are so many notifications coming up on my computer right now. It's
That's
okay.
not a bad thing.
Anyways,
That's a good thing.
CG, we got to get another college prospect. CG, we got to get another college prospect
Yeah, he
interview.
crushes it, man. He's a
Yeah,
hustler.
for sure. He does a great work. Yeah, does a great work on his to you. I did a show with you on Sunday, so that's a lot of fun. But that was a lot of fun. But anyways, let's get on to the fifth topic, which is interesting to me. What makes you prefer Oregon? You would because obviously I just saw that one mock draft. I probably should have looked at your other ones, but
No,
which one do you like more, Christian Gonzalez or Devon Witherspoon out of Illinois? The cornerbacks, both kind of the
I like
consensus top
Gonzalez.
two.
Well,
Oh,
see,
yeah,
for me, they're not. And I do like them. Like, I like all those guys. There's 3 corners that are just unbelievable. For me, I like Christian Gonzalez the most. But again, a lot of it depends on what it is you're wanting. Because if you
yeah.
Christian Gonzalez is just the smoothest. He just glides, man. Like, I don't know if you've ever seen Lord of the
This,
Rings when Legolas is like walking on the snow and he just like, just goes right across the top. Like, that's Christian Gonzalez. Smooth.
yeah,
Iceman all the time. And it just, the game looks easy. He's done it at 2 separate schools. And he's got the frame, he's got the speed, he's got the measurables, he's got all those things. But then you go to Joey Porter Jr. out of Penn State. That's my number 2. The physicality. You want a
I
strong
like him.
physical corner, that's the guy I'm going with. And not to say
And
that Devon Witherspoon doesn't have it, because he has
yeah,
it too.
and in 2022, like obviously Joey Porter Jr., the big concern with him after 2021 was the penalties. tends to get a little bit handsy,
Mm.
but 2022 only had 2 holding calls. And I mean, lengthy, his dad played in the
Yeah.
NFL. I think if you're looking for, that's where like I think Joey Porter Jr. almost would be above Christian Gonzalez because
I have no problem with
the
that.
versatility is there. He has longer arms to play in the slot, play outside. He had less holding calls than Christian Gonzalez in 2022. Devon Witherspoon to me is the type of guy where I think he can play both systems, zone and man-to-man. He
I
is the
agree.
most flexible kind of player, like flexible scheme player, in my opinion.
And again, it's just you got to pick your poison, right?
Right.
So, like, again, if you're a traits guy, Devon Witherspoon's 5'11", 180 with 31-inch arms. Okay, so that's not a red flag. But then you look at Joey Porter. He's 6'2", 193 with 34-inch arms. He's 3 inches taller with 3-inch longer arms. Like, if you're a length guy or a team and you value those things as a corner, and a lot of teams do, Wilkes does, by the way, the new 49ers DC, that's why I have him higher.
Yeah.
The pedigree's there. There's no wrong answer, right? With these 3 guys, no wrong answers. If you get one of them, congratulations, because they're all that dang good. Now, another thing for me when I was watching Illinois tape with Devon Witherspoon, they're going to have 5 players drafted in that secondary this year. He is surrounded by elite. Their backup safety on Illinois is getting drafted this year. So,
wait, really? I thought it was only 4.
Yeah, so their other corners and underclassmen, he's coming out next year. So, like, literally 5 players in that secondary are all getting drafted. And so, like, I mean, it's impressive. So, do I knock him for that? It's kind of a concern when it's like, man, dude, you're playing with the NFL caliber people already. You go watch Joey Porter Jr. Not to say Penn State's a bad program, because they're not. I mean,
they weren't that good this year, though.
They were not, but he's playing with Jair Brown, who I really, really like a lot. Yeah. But he's going to be the very first defensive back to go in the very first cornerback from Penn State to go in the first round ever.
Really? Wow. Did not know that.
But all are correct answers. They're all great. I like Christian Gonzalez the most, but again, I've got Christian Gonzalez, and what do I have him at on my big board? I have him and Joey Porter next to each other. They're like right there. Yeah, I've got Gonzalez 8 and Joey Porter 9. So they're both top 10 players for me.
So real quick before we move on, where do you think Joey Porter Jr. ends up? I would say, I mean, the Bengals are an interesting, or the Bills later round. Both of those teams could be looking to trade up. I don't know.
Yeah, I think he's going to be gone by then. I mean, there's no way he gets past the Steelers. So like the Steelers at 17, his dad played there, major corner need, fits their physicality. Like, he's not 17's the lowest he's fallen. So my guess is, I mean, you start looking at teams like Tennessee could use everything. Their team's a mess. Wouldn't be shocked to see Philly take him at 10. Like, that's how good this guy is. Like, he can go in that area.
For sure. Well, let's get on to topic number 6 here. The last one. Stroud or Bryce Young, which one goes first? CJ Stroud, obviously. This is kind of flip-flopped. The consensus has flip-flopped a lot. I like Stroud. Well, I like Stroud because he's slightly bigger, and here's what I can kind of base it off of. You're staring down a big hit, let's say from Nick Bosa, or one of the bigger defensive linemen, okay? Does Stroud step into that throw and deliver and get the hit without getting injured and still deliver a big throw downfield? Whereas Bryce Young, he probably fades away a little bit, favors his body. I don't know. That's just my thing with him.
I have Stroud higher. Okay.
Yeah.
For me, 5'10's rough. And you could say, well, Kyler Murray. Well, a couple things. Kyler Murray's built like a freaking tank, even though he's 5'10. There's a big difference in their body.
And he also gets injured a lot.
And he gets injured a lot. So, I will say this. My favorite thing about Bryce Young is just his pocket awareness. That dude manipulates the pocket so well. I personally think it should be Stroud. but it seems like everybody's agreeing that it's going to be Bryce. I don't know. If I was in charge and I had my vote, it'd be Stroud. I would not trade up for a 5'10" quarterback. If you're sitting there at 1 and that's your guy, that's cool. But whenever you trade up, you have that extra juice that you had to pay to get there. You paid the premium. I don't know. I have a hard time trading up all that draft capital for an anomaly, right?
Yeah.
Could Bryce be amazing? Yes. I hope he is. He's great. Such a cool dude. But again, man, we ain't seen it. We ain't seen it yet. This dude will be the smallest quarterback to play in the NFL almost ever.
And he battled with injuries last year at Alabama. I believe it was a shoulder or maybe it was a foot. I don't know, but I remember he was dealing with it a lot last year. And so, but I mean, the thing that I do like about Bryce Young, and everyone likes to bring up Kyler Murray, but he definitely, I think, his pocket awareness. I mean, Kyler Murray at Oklahoma was playing backyard football. I mean, Bryce Young there are a lot of games where he just stayed in the pocket. The only other thing is you could kind of, like CJ Stroud, you could kind of compare him to Hendon Hooker, the similar offenses that they do play. And that's but I don't know if you really put too much stock into it. Do you buy more into the athlete that he is or the system? I think I would say athlete. So
yeah, he's fun. And I'm not trying to diminish the dude. He should be in the first round. He's incredible. If he goes number 1, I get it. He's my number 5 overall player. It's just we haven't seen it. We haven't seen it. Doesn't mean it can't happen, but I don't really want to put all that bet on it. Personally, that's just my take.
Well, yes, for sure. Well, everyone, this has been a great show. Thanks for having John Chapman. Well, thanks, John, for coming on the show. Anyways, thanks for coming on the show. This was a lot of fun. Thanks for bringing your knowledge to the game, because I love not only 49ers fans who have knowledge on the rest of the NFL, the draft prospects, to kind of talk and have that versatility of talking. It's nice to see. So thank you,
man. It's just fun. This time of year is such a blast, man.
Yeah.
I love the draft. Really, thank you for your time, for having me on. You're doing a great job, man. Just keep freaking grinding. Excited to see where you're going to take this thing, man, because I freaking love it. A lot of people have a passion and want to do this stuff. It's the people that got the work ethic that usually last. And man, hats off to you on that.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Everyone have a great day. I'll be back on Monday with my brother of the Long John podcast to do a mock draft, the final mock draft. And man, we are already 1 week away from the draft. Time has flown. Can't wait. Everyone have a good rest of your guys' day. Go follow John Chapman on Instagram. You have an Instagram, right? Can you quickly shout out your
49ers Rush podcast.
Okay.
Yeah, just wherever it is, 49ers Rush podcast.
Yeah, for sure. The link to his, because I'm not on Instagram, so link to his Twitter and his YouTube are in the description. Have a good rest of your day, everyone. We'll see you guys later. Go Niners.
Peace.